Guys, we're going to talk about Halo Campaign Evolved. Yes, we're going to talk about this video game because, well, things just are not looking good, as they never are, right? So, thank you so much for watching this video, and if you guys want to see more content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join me every single day, 9 p.m. over on the main channel, where you can catch me live every single day, 9 p.m. Eastern. I hope to see every single one of you there. Now back to the main video. There's a couple of things that I want to touch on regarding Halo Campaign Evolved. Number one is who this game was made for, in my opinion. And it's in my opinion that Halo Campaign Evolved, after playing the game with the real-life fake wizard, which we still have to finish it up the game next week. After playing the game, it's pretty evident that this game was designed for people that just never played Halo before. These Halo remakes, or these remakes in general, are usually designed for people that never played the original games before, which is why they ultimately do not succeed in the manner that they should most of the time, 9 out of 10 times. Of course, there's always an outlier. For example, Assassin's Creed Black Flag. That video game's doing well because for the most part, it is pretty close to what the original Black Flag gives you, but it does have some censorship issues and whatnot that it deals with. But overall, the experience is pretty similar. But with Halo Campaign Evolved, that's not the case whatsoever. On top of the game being absolutely freaking broken, and on top of these new missions that they added that everybody knows about Lieutenant Williams and how insufferable she is. So we have a lot of information regarding as to why this game was so bad at release, and it was apparently because of a very troubled development cycle. So we're going to talk about that because this game that was meant for PlayStation users, not only did it go through development hell, which is crazy because most of the game was outsourced to people outside of Halo Studios, and they didn't even handle it themselves. But not only that, if we are to believe the numbers that came out from Circana, which I almost never do, they're almost always misrepresented, but so take this with a massive grain of salt. But if we are to believe these numbers, that Halo Campaign Evolved massively failed on PlayStation, right? And on Xbox, it had about 8% of the active Xbox players jumping in on launch day, but it only had about less than 1% of active PlayStation players jumping in on launch day. So this game that was meant for the PlayStation platform, in my opinion, ultimately ended up failing massively on the PlayStation platform. This was also after they were trying to convince us that the game was super successful on the PlayStation platform because in one day, it managed to hit the top sales and revenue or something like that. But again, I keep telling people, top sales and revenue when nothing else is out right now, when if you look at anything else that's available, it's usually video games that already had all their pre-orders in for the week. They constantly do this. They're comparing to of the week that it's released, and there's almost nothing else that's out at that time that's going to be able to compete with a semi-full price video game. So, of course, Campaign Evolved was going to be number one on revenue for at least one day before it eventually dropped massively. The same thing happens with the Steam charts. I don't want to make it seem like it's just PlayStation. The Steam charts do the same exact thing. That's why I don't look at the Steam charts when it comes to, top sellers or anything like that. I don't look at that because it goes based off revenue. I don't care about that. I care about the actual numbers and how many people are playing the game, how many copies are being sold. That's more important to me. So anyway, let's go over the development hell, and then we're going to go over the PlayStation numbers and see exactly what's going on here. So Idle Sloth posted the following over on X. Halo Campaign Evolved's troubled development. Had a heavy reliance on external partners that went poorly. Now, number one, why is it that Halo Studios, okay, the studio that's literally named after the video game that they're supposedly developing, that is developing a remake of a video game that was made prior, so they already had homework, right? They had homework that they could copy. It's not like you guys were making your own game. You made your own 3 missions, which are the worst missions in the whole game, by the way. You made your own 3 missions that are extremely buggy. You made those 3 missions, and I can already tell that you would not have been able to make the whole game. I can already tell. You guys were absolute trash on those 3 missions. But with that being said, you guys are literally named Halo Studios, and you're outsourcing most of your work to Virtuos, right? Virtuos is a studio that does a lot of remake work, okay? They have remade plenty of video games before. They worked on Elder Scrolls Oblivion remake, right? That's the one that got shadow dropped. That did very well over on Steam. But at the end of the day, like, they've been known to have buggy work as well. You guys are outsourcing your work on a video game remake for something that you're copying someone else's homework, and it's a video game that you should be the primary people working on it. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you guys are Halo Studios. Why are you named Halo Studios if you can't even work on a Halo game? Abstraction Studio handled major technical work and level design for all missions, from concept block out through encounter scripting, NPC spawning, and adapting new levels for features like Sprint. Speaking of which, it's amazing that they say that they adapted levels to essentially work with the new features like Sprint. But if you guys didn't see those videos going viral over our necks, I don't have it saved, but I'm sure you can find it. There was a bunch of videos of people literally just running through the levels. Because of Sprint, they could just run through the levels, not fight anything, and go to essentially where they had to go to and speed run the level. So did you really work the level to account for Sprint, or did you just like... I don't really believe that, right? But anyway, development with Abstraction began around summer of 2023. Halo Studios allegedly ended the contract mid-development around fall of 2025. Much of Abstraction's work had to be redone, which helps explain persistent AI and gameplay issues. Abstraction is absent from the main credits. Only individuals appear in a special thanks. The studio has been acquired by Virtuos in early 2025, but later returned to independence. An external partner responsible for cinematics also underdelivered and barely finished in time, leading to the decision to cut real-time cinematics, which is why player armor and weapon customization doesn't appear in them. I mean, guys, oh my god, bro, what are we doing? So is this the reason why in the Warthog there's not even an animation to go from one seat to the other like there was in the original Halo? The original Halo from like the early 2000s, and you guys are in 2026 and you literally cannot animate Master Chief going from one chair to the other? Are we struggling that bad? How are we struggling this bad? You guys are Halo Studios. How are you struggling this bad? And then on top of that, the cutscenes look like they're... I can't explain it. I know Leon, calls it like realistic Pixar, and I feel like that's kind of true. But it's almost like they're plastic. I'm looking at toys. I feel like I'm looking at toys instead of looking at, actual characters in their world or whatever. That's how it feels. That's how it looks. But anyway, internal studio issues under studio head Pierre hints, importing and rebuilding assets from the Hybrid Blam and Unreal Engine proved far more difficult and time-consuming than leadership expected. Oh, so you guys completely just undersold how long this was actually going to take? I'm not exactly surprised by that. I guess by the time you got through your 14 levels of management, by the time you figured it out, it was already too late, right? Essentially, 100% of the assets had to be rebuilt, so you couldn't even reuse anything. Amazing. Hints reportedly promoted friends to key leadership roles. Oh, favoritism. That's a classic. That's a classic. We love that stuff. Favoritism. He reportedly promoted friends into key leadership roles, including the original executive producer and head of production, who were not prepared for the positions. This contributed to unclear direction, shifting priorities, micromanagement, and tension. So... you guys, again, as much as we love to make fun of some of the developers, because at the end of the day, we all know that they're not innocent, there is some major leadership problems that are plaguing some of these studios, some more than others. Halo Studios, it is in my belief that this studio needs a reset. It is unbelievable to me that you're a studio named after Halo, and you couldn't even make the game. You had to outsource the game, a lot of the assets, to other people, and then by the time you got those assets back, you had to remake them because they weren't up to par or whatever the case may be. So you spent all this time outsourcing for literally no reason whatsoever at this point. And then on top of that, promoting people, supposedly, this is all rumored by the way, but promoting people that don't deserve it. I mean, am I shocked by that? No. I'm not shocked whatsoever. Those leaders were later demoted and replaced. I'm not shocked. And the head of production was eventually fired. The multiplayer project Ecker was canceled, so its team could be redirected to save campaign evolved. So they had a multiplayer project, which, again, one of the biggest questions was like, how are we playing campaign evolved and there's no multiplayer, right? Multiplayer is such a major aspect of Halo as a franchise, especially some of the earlier iterations. And you guys have a 5-hour campaign that's been completely remade in Unreal Engine, but with no multiplayer whatsoever. I mean, at this point, you guys got to pack it up. I don't see how you can view this as saving the campaign, because I feel like the campaign was anything but saved, personally. But, whatever, anyway. In the last 9 months, the team worked under severe crunch, late nights, weekends, constant firefighting, and pivots, and managed to deliver a playable, respectable experience. Yeah, okay. A playable, respectable. Yeah, I like how they had to put this in. Yeah. Sure. There's nothing guys, literally in the first mission, me and Wizard are playing and it gets bugged in 10 minutes. I'm not even kidding. It gets bugged in the first 10 minutes of the game twice on their new missions. Not only that, it gets bugged in every mission after that. How exactly is this game respectable? I have no idea. There's no way you're gonna be convinced me to that. Realistically, this all comes down to it's all your fault. I know that like people are gonna want to point fingers and be like, "Oh, it's the dev's fault. Oh, the executive's fault. Oh, it's the gamer's fault for wanting too much or whatever." Like, it is all of your faults. You guys over there at Halo Studios, this has to be one of the most pathetic experiences that I've ever witnessed from a studio whose namesake is literally the game that they're making. And the game that they're making is not even a new fucking game to make in the first place. It is a remake. It is a remake of one of the shortest, easiest, simplest campaign mission video games to adapt. There's nothing crazy in it. There's nothing extreme in it. It is pretty straight fucking forward. So how is it that you fucked that up? How is it that you're incapable of making this game majority on your own? I understand that a lot of studios outsource. I get that. I understand that Xbox and PlayStation and all these guys have contracts with these outsourcing studios to help them when they need it. I get that. But it doesn't seem like it wasn't help. It just wasn't help, right? It doesn't seem like it was help. It seems like they were doing the job for you. And you were just putting together the pieces. That's how it seems. And the job that they did and the job that you guys did is terrible. Which is why I keep saying, ultimately at the end of the day, Asha Sharma, after this game has released, you need to walk into Halo Studios right now. You got to walk into Halo Studios like you did Bethesda. And you need to sit down, whoever's in charge over there, and all those 14 layers of management, and you need to felt them 14 times until there's nobody left, and then figure out how you're going to pick up the pieces. Now, going over what Pirate Nation said, Halo Campaign Evolved had a much bigger launch on Xbox than on PS5 in the US, according to Circana analyst Matt Piscatella. Now, keep in mind, Mr. Matt Piscatella, his numbers are always heavily skewed. For some odd reason, I don't know why he likes to do this, so take this information with a grain of salt. However, I do find it interesting because when I personally verified and looked at the stores, I almost never saw Halo anywhere near the top, except for the official launch day, which I pretty much expected because like every major release gets that. And then eventually the truth comes out at some point in time. It didn't do well on Steam, and according to Matt Piscatella, it only had about 1% of the active PlayStation players playing the game, whatever the hell that means, whereas 8% of active Xbox players were jumping in on launch day. So there were more people playing the game on Xbox than they were playing on PlayStation. You could take that for whatever that means, but realistically, the reason why this is important is because, in my opinion, this game was made for PlayStation gamers. In my opinion, this game was made for people that never experienced Halo before. They even said that themselves. This is really for the modded audience of the new people who never saw Halo for what it was back in the day. And that is mostly PlayStation players. If you're a hardcore PlayStation player, you probably never played Halo unless you went over a friend's house or unless you had a multi-system family household. But not everybody was like that. If you're a PlayStation-only kind of player, you never played Halo realistically up until this point, or maybe you dabbled on PC. But at the end of the day, this game, in my opinion, was made for PlayStation players. You could see it through and through. You could see it in the way the gameplay is designed. You can see it in the way the cutscenes are made. Everything screams PlayStation in and out. Like all of it screams PlayStation. And honestly, to see it fail on the platform that it was designed for initially, I just think that's hilarious. I do. So Halo Campaign Evolved, I mean, again, not doing that well ultimately at the end of the day. It definitely could have been a hell of a lot better, but unfortunately, they decided to make some decisions that were questionable, and it's going to lead to the game being overall just relatively forgotten and ignored. I kind of feel like it's already there at this point. People aren't even talking about this outside of like a couple of nitpicking things here and there. Nobody's really talking about Halo Campaign Evolved, which is crazy because I remember a time when Halo was anything anybody ever talked about, but now they ran it into the ground so much that nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's a joke. Nobody cares. And especially with the new missions that they added. The crazy thing is, you're not forced to play the new missions first. But realistically, anybody who buys this game is going to play the new missions first because it makes sense, right? It takes place 1 year before the events of Halo. So why would you not play the new missions first? Imagine starting off these brand new players that never experienced your games before with Lieutenant Williams. Imagine that being your first impression. It's crazy. It's almost as at this point, this game would be better off if they try to encourage players to ignore the bonus missions until after they're done with the main campaign. Because those new missions being the first impression that people get, bro, you're going to end up with way more refunds. Nearly guaranteed. Although Lieutenant Williams doesn't show up until right around the 2-hour mark, which I'm not surprised. Maybe a little bit before. If you're fast, maybe a little bit before. But that's basically it, boys. So that's it for Halo Campaign Evolved. It's not looking too good. And again, these numbers from Circana, take it with a grain of salt. But you can apply it with the Steam numbers and kind of get a rough idea to say this is pretty close to probably what the story is. And it's just overall terrible to witness. And God, I hate that game. I hate that game, especially since I played Master Chief Collection not that long before that, and it was infinitely better.